Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special best practices webinar. What's the big deal about field trips? I don't think we've ever done a best practices webinar on field trips. It was suggested to me, and I thought it was just a great idea. And it's the proof is that the attendance in this is huge. We got a huge response of registrations, so we're looking forward to just having a great discussion. Dawn, I want to thank you so much for joining. We're gonna. Are you showing the slides there, Arnold? Can you show? I'm not seeing the home page here. Um, I want to let you know that first of all, these are always recorded. So usually within a day or two, you'll see it on our YouTube channel. You can find that by going to transfinder.com, and in the very top left corner, you'll see the YouTube icon. So all of our best practices webinars are there. I know that a lot of times people want to share it with their colleagues. They want to share it with their superintendent or the school board. So just know that they're always there. The other thing is we want this to be very interactive. So, not in the chat, you'll see an icon for chat, but there's also a Q&A. That's the one we'd like you to go into. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a suggestion, you want to ask Dawn or James a very specific question, feel free to do that. That's where we wanted you to go, though. I want to just tell you a couple quick. My name is again Rick DeRico. I'm the Director of Public Relations here at Transfinder, and I'm going to turn it over in a moment to Zach Moren, who's going to give a presentation about best practices in field trips and how Tripfinder has really made that process so much easier and smoother. And then it won't be just Transfinder saying that, but you'll hear James and Dawn who will tell their own stories. Couple quick things though. I was just looking at some interesting tidbits. Anybody have? I'm going to ask anybody who's watching. You can ask you can answer in the Q&A area. When do you think the very first recorded field trip was? Anybody want to guess? The concept was brought about, okay, 1906, very specific. Anybody else? Brett, thank you. You're the first participant. Anybody else have a guess? First field trip. It was not it wasn't the cavemen, and their little kids going to look at a dinosaur or something. The late 1800, okay, 1948. Well, here it is. The late 1800s, progressive educators introduced learning by doing, took students to museums and factories. Anybody want to guess what the most popular destinations are today in field trips? Just throw out a couple. Disneyland. Well, I wish, man. Zoo, very good. That's definitely on the list. Anybody else? What am I seeing here? Oh, I got to move my mouse over here. Zoo, 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 zoo. History museums, colleges, museums. Very good. So that's it. Number one field trip destinations in the U.S. Are museums, followed by zoos and historical sites. So you guys nailed it. 2020, they said, was the introduction of virtual field trips that grew by 300%. People having an opportunity to quote unquote visit places like NASA. And lastly, the average cost. No, I got two things. The average field trip cost. Anyone want to guess what that is per student? Transportation is, of course, being the largest expense. Anybody want to guess? If you were thinking 20 to 20 bucks, very good. 20 to $50. A single bus trip can add 50 to 150 extra miles to a school bus's daily route. And nearly 80% of school districts report that driver shortages have affected their ability to have field trips, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. And then the other thing I saw in here was that the longest field trip could be as long as 2 weeks, which is mostly language immersion or cultural exchange type programs. All right, thanks for participating, playing our trivia game there. Now I'm going to move it over. I want to introduce our panelists. We have James Graham. He's the financial secretary and office manager at Norman Public Schools in Oklahoma. We're not sure if Craig Lips is going to make it or not. He just started a new position. He went from Guilderland Central School Districts in our neck of the woods to East Greenbush. So we're looking forward to talking to him. But I know that things can change day to day. Dawn was just telling me, I go, how was your day so far? Dawn, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but a little bit crazy. I go, I think everybody on this attending this can relate to that. And last but not least is Dawn Welches. He's the Assistant Transportation Director at Edison Board of Education in New Jersey. Zach Moren, he is our Manager of Sales Enablement and Engineering Engineering. I think I had that wrong there, Transfer and Transfinder. And also I want to thank Arnold Bird, who is his right-hand man, who is running the back end here. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Zach, who's going to give us an overview of Tripfinder and just best practices when scheduling field trips. Zach?
Yeah, appreciate it, Rick. And, definitely appreciate our panelists. Rick, you and I say this all the time. We can sit here and tell everyone about how great our products are, but really means a lot more coming from the people that actually use it and are doing the hard work with it. So excited to hear Don and James from you guys too. But I gotta just call out the number of attendees we have for this panel on field trips. I really think speaks to what an important topic it is. Arnold, if we want to move the slide forward, obviously everyone here understands the importance of field trips. Rick, you gave us some good background, the history of it, but really it's a great opportunity that, students are getting out of the classroom, they're getting hands-on, they're getting to learn in really unique and powerful ways. But the part that has been a really struggle for a lot of the districts we work with is, how do we afford to keep funding them? How do we have availability for vehicles? How do we have availability for drivers? And we know how much that can impact that student learning, those chances to take those kind of field trips. So when I look at how many people are here to hear about our field trip platform today, I think that's got to be the real motivation of how can we manage all of these field trips we're trying to do in a better way. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Before I talk about some of the benefits and some of the great ways that our platform's gonna, help overhaul, let's talk, not about why field trips are important, because I think everybody on the call here understands we got to get kids out to the zoos and the museums. That's a great thing to do. But I want to talk about some of the things we've heard from clients coming to us, and some of the pain points that we've seen. And I imagine this is gonna land with a lot of the attendees here today. So really just archaic systems. In a lot of ways, I feel like field trip management is it's a little bit of the stepchild of the transportation department. They don't always have all the best tools or resources. The way that we're trying to manage AM and PM trips, there's a lot of paper processes that are coming in. Email saying, "Hey, can we take a trip tomorrow? I need 4 buses." There's not a lot of visibility that happens. We hear it all the time. It's a huge driver phone calls into the transportation department saying, "Hey, what buses are coming? What field trips are going out today? Where's the driver?" And there's just not a ton of visibility into what's going on. And then another big issue we run into is not everybody's running a paper and pencil process. There are a lot of great software platforms out there to manage your field trips, but it doesn't always tie everything together, right? One thing people love about working with Transfinder's platform is all of these modules work together in this kind of seamless way. So when you're requesting a field trip, I want that to tie right into my driver and vehicle availability based on my AM and PM trips or my midday runs so that I can see what the resources look like. So tying all that information together has become really important piece. And then I hear it all the time. I'm sure, hopefully, we've got some field trip coordinators out there. When I ask them what takes up the most time in your day, what's really impacting you, a lot of the time it's the cost tracking. How many miles, how much time, what's the driver's pay, and trying to plug that into a finance system or invoice out other departments. That is super time consuming process, and they're always looking for a way. Could I automate that? Could this be, exported out? Is there a way to tie these systems together to talk together? So tying all those finances together. So those are a lot of the challenges we see. We hope some of the attendees here are coming in to say, yeah, those are some of the problems I'm having, and I'd love to kind of find a better way to manage my system. So my hope, Rick, is I want to talk really high level, kind of go through our platform and how some of our clients are using it, benefiting from it. We say it all the time. All of the tools and solutions that we offer are really driven by our 37 years here in business, the 2,300 school districts we work with across the country. They all have great feedback. James and Don are the type of clients that give us really good feedback and say, "I wish your products did this," or "This is what I need in my operation." And that's where, a lot of these resources come from. So Tripfinder is born out of that. it really is built and made for transportation departments. And so just like a lot of our products, whenever you see a finder on the end of a name of something, that's a Transfinder solution we're talking about. So Tripfinder is our field trip module. Again, it's tied in with the rest of our platform with Route Finder Plus, with Viewfinder, with all of these tools. But Tripfinder is really aimed at simplifying your planning for field trips, right? We want to make that really, really smooth and seamless, help you start to manage and track costs. But also, one of the bigger ones is give you that insight across the district, right? So everybody can know what's going on, what trips are approved, what's going out when. So really, really modern platform. A few things I love to point out here is things like mobile-friendly support, web-based tools. These are all expectations today in the 21st century, right? A coach should be able to win a football game on a Friday night and say, I guess I'm going to need four more buses next Friday, right? Because we're going to the playoffs, and be able to pull their phone out and be able to submit a request for another field trip. And so all of these tools are very, very easy to access. They're all online for you. You can log in and be able to make requests, approve requests, track costs, do all of that stuff wherever you're kind of at. And let's take a look. What I really want to dig into is the kind of workflow management of this. And every district's a little different, right? And our products recognize and understand that. We never want to come into a school district and say, look, the way you're managing field trips today just isn't going to work. You're going to have to overhaul the system, change how the coaches and teachers are doing it. We've always known that whenever we come into an environment like that, our software needs to be able to be flexible enough to work with what you do. So if there's a paper form that teachers fill out that they hand in today, look, maybe we can find a way to make that same form but digital for them. So we want to be able to start capturing requests, and a lot of the time those requests happen right at an individual level. Teachers and coaches are putting requests. Sometimes districts have a process where that's going to bubble up to a school administrator first, and they'll submit a request in. However, those requests are coming in, it's unlimited user. I don't think there's any IT here on the call, but they love that we tie in with their single sign-on. So people are using the same credentials to log into our platform that they're using in for the rest of the software they're using at the district there. And then once the requests come in, there's got to be a lot of flexibility on who can approve this, who needs to see this. And so we work with you. We offer up to 5 different levels of approval. So that means a coach may submit a request that needs to go to a coordinator. But if a teacher submits a request to go to the museum, that's got to go to somebody totally different. And so we work with you side by side to say, how do we set that multi-level approval up? And how do we keep everyone on the same page, right? So when a request comes in, do I get emailed and notified? If I don't have those buses available and I have to deny your request, do I get pinged right away and I can check my email and see the reason why? All of that is a really core part of that workflow. And then, of course, once it comes into transportation, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, from being able to assign the vehicles, make sure they're available, my drivers, and be able to print out a nice trip sheet so they know where they're going. They can track all the information they need to on costs and odometer mileage and things like that. And so we try to build that workflow in. Again, we have a lot of the tools to do it, but for us, it's just been so crucial that we're able to work with districts to say, well, how do you do it now, right? How does the software need to fit into that process? We keep going, Arnold. The other key piece I always like to talk about here is what kind of insight. Great, all these field trips are flying around. Again, you may be a small district, you may be a big district. There's a lot of moving pieces, and there's not enough people to keep track of it. And so, yeah, great. If we've got some questions here, by all means, feel free to share any, Rick and Arnold, that you see that are worth bringing up. But district-wide insight's been such a key piece of it. Like I said, this is such a pain point for a lot of transportation departments, is I'm getting phone calls every day from my school districts, my school administrators saying, what's going out? When's it going out? I know I've got a district I worked with in Utah that had a great system with our Tripfinder tool where they had automatic scheduled reports. Every single day, a school would get an email in their inbox. It would show all of the field trips going out that day, what driver was assigned, what time, how many vehicles. It cut down on the number of phone calls across the board for them. And so we give district administrators a way to be able to log in. They can have a nice calendar view. They can see trips by destination, by school, and easily look that information up. Rick, I know I'm flying through
I
because
got
I'm
some
so... Yeah, I'm so excited to get to Don and
Yeah,
James.
let me throw out some questions to you.
What do we
Dawn
got?
asked a question, not our panelist, Dawn. Um, there's an extra cost. TripFinder does not come with Route Finder Plus, correct? This is an add-on, and also you don't even have to have Route Finder Plus, by the way, if you're not a Transfinder client yet. You could purchase TripFinder independently, correct?
That's right. So, like a lot of our modules, not every district needs every piece. So not all of our districts, we've got a lot of clients that are routing clients that don't have field trips yet. But the key thing is that once you add it, it can be part of the whole system. So it ties in with all the other pieces once added.
Does the program do electronic bidding?
Yeah, that is one of the most common questions. And my follow-up question is, how do you bid? Right? Because every school I've gone to and asked how they bid, it's a little bit different. Well, this one's seniority, and this one's based on hours and things like that. So, Tripfinder is used for bidding all the time. A lot of our clients are pulling the data out. Generally, they can run out a report or be able to view that information in our system to help them with that bidding process. Today, there's no automatic bidding. That's one that we know that we have on our roadmap. This is something we expect to see really, really soon. But the challenge with it has always been, again, we can't come and tell a school district, well, this is how you should be bidding. We have to say, you tell us how you bid so that our system can fit and work kind of around that for sure.
Very good. Don, feel free to go in deeper if you're done, and I'll be looking for your follow-up. How many users are available for TripFinder?
Yeah, so Tripfinder, like a lot of our tools, are unlimited user, right? So this may be district wide. You may want to give access to 30,000 district staff. There's no limit on Tripfinder users there.
Okay. Anonymous attendee says, that was Michael, by the way. Thank you. Who is from IT, by the way. So he said, I love that you have SSO. I'm reviewing this as we want to add TripFinder. So that's very good. I wish you weren't anonymous so we could call you. Sue asked, it would be nice to be able to make one copy of a recurring field trip by clicking a day or certain days, like Tuesday or Monday through Friday, whatever. It would create a field trip for every day selected instead of making copies and then having to edit those dates. Is that make sense to you, Zach?
It definitely does, right? And we see that a lot in regular morning, afternoon routing too. They want to see recurring incidents. This is a student that goes to dad's house every other week or things like that. So that's a lot of functionality we've recently added to routing. So I fully expect us to bring that over for field trips as well. Hey, this is a weekly Friday field trip that we see. Let me just hit the recurring button so that we can do that as well. So there's a lot of
Kendra
questions,
is,
and what I could try to do too is kind of
sure.
dig through some of these as we put Don and James on. Just to wrap up, one of the pieces I wanted to make sure I got to before I handed things over is Arnold, if we advance the slide, let's talk about the financial insight. Again, this is a piece that takes up so much of the time of our trip coordinators. So the questions always come in. Can you manage the billing? Can you manage invoicing, cost tracking, all of that? And we have districts all over the country using this system, up from Anchorage, Alaska, down to Florida and Texas here. And they all need to track their costs a little bit differently. Sometimes they do flat rate cost tracking. I was talking with a district the other day. That's what they do. All of my in-district field trips, it's a flat $100, right? And then sometimes they need to get more accurate. No, no, we really need to pay the driver based on the number of hours, meal costs, mileage. And so we allow you to put all of those different costs into the system. Sometimes there's additional costs districts think about, like, does this trip have a nurse on it or any specialized equipment? All of that can go into it as well. But then how does this tie into the rest of your environment? So a lot of people need to make sure, great, I'm cost tracking now in Tripfinder. I know how much each of my trips is costing me. That's great. Can it interface with my finance system so I don't have to go manually key this into two different systems? That's been a really key piece for us too, is tying our system into all of these finance systems and being able to export our data out. So financial management is one of the pieces that, especially when you get down to the level of that trip coordinator, where this takes up so much of their day, that ability to be able to do cost tracking and tie in with the finance for their field trips has become really, really key too. Arnold, do I have a one final slide here? No, this is handing over to our panelists. So Rick, before I stop talking and I let the people that we actually want to hear from talk, any last thoughts before we jump into our Q&A here?
I don't think so. I'm looking at just a couple other quick. Can the trip time be billed to the? Oh, there was two questions I want to ask. Can the t trip time be billed to the school API and API, the separate
It's a great
point?
question. So what we find is to be as flexible as possible. We're generally doing integration with finance systems through a flat file. We'll export the data out, but we can automate a lot of that work too. So we could set automated exports to be able to send trip costs and things like that to your finance system.
Okay. And lastly, I want to get to this one. I thought this was a good one from Kendra, asking about this presentation is not just for school districts, it is for bus contractors as well. She was wondering if if they don't have their own buses, if they contract everything, is there still a role for a district to get Tripfinder?
Absolutely, right? You still want to keep track of the requests. You still want to process there where people can request trips that you're going to send and assign to contractors. Many of our Trip Finder clients contract a lot of their work out. I used Anchorage as an example earlier. They can get really complicated because they'll sometimes have one contractor start a field trip and a different contractor end a field trip. And they wanted to maintain and manage all of that in their system so they can keep track of who's running what portions of it. So absolutely, whether you're a district that contracts some of the buses out, or you're a contractor that does the busing for school districts, any of that are places that Tripfinder may fit in and be a good fit for your operation.
All right, I got to ask one more question. It came up during our dry run yesterday, but since it's out there, Michael wants to know if trip pathing, if it's possible to send it to Wayfinder. Is that in the works?
So that's one of the most common requests. So technically, you can bring field trips into Wayfinder today. The only limitation we have is our Wayfinder today uses localized county maps to give you that level of accuracy, map editing, things like that. So the limitation we have is out of county, out of state trips. There's not a way to path them in Wayfinder today. This is another big one that we're really excited to be able to bring nationwide mapping for field trips, so you don't have to plug it into a Google Maps, things like that that we expect to see really soon. So,
I didn't know
great
the answer
question.
to that. I knew you would have the answer, and I'm really glad I asked now because that's a lot. That's awesome. That's coming. Great. Thanks so much, Zach. Zach, you're staying on. Hop in, jump in. Dawn, James, you want to ask Zach any more questions as well that may have arisen during that as well. So I want to talk to our panelists now. I want to thank James and Dawn for joining us. James, I want you to just start off by just telling me a little bit about yourself. I like the fact that we have a finance person here as well. He cares about the money. Um, Not that the TDs don't, but tell me a little bit about your role and then a little bit about your district. How many students you transport, maybe how many drivers you have, that kind of thing.
Jay Graham. I've been with transportation now for 7 years. I've been the office manager for about five and a half. Our district, we transport about 9,000 students a day. We have about 77 routes that we are running. We average anywhere from 6 to 7,000 trips a year. Currently, we've already completed 2,643 trips, which I pulled
That's
that up
field
on the
trips.
dashboard. Yes, just field trips alone. That includes like field
2,600 and what was it?
2,643.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
have 3,768 scheduled grand total. So 2,600 of that 3,700 has already been completed since July 1. We have a few during the summer, that includes trips to the zoo, trips to the science museum, softball, basketball, baseball. We consider a trip, a field trip, any sporting event or anytime we take students away from the school that's not their normal bus route.
Very good. Thanks so much, James. Don, tell me a little bit about your career and also your district.
Sure. Dawn Welches, and I've been in transportation since 2008. It's been a very long stretch, which is great. I love the challenge of the job. Here in Edison, we have 19 schools, and we do athletic trips as well as our school trips. We transport about 10,000 students daily. We have about, I think it's like 280 trips that we do. during the day. We are at only 624 completed, a little bit under James's totals, but we try and do a lot of it in-house. So we have about 52 drivers that we have for during the day as well as athletics.
Great. Thank you. So I should make a note, by the way, and I think I said it to start, but if you have a question for either Zach, Dawn, or James, I'm monitoring, and also Arnold is as well. And let me know, and we'll make sure we ask if you have a specific question. So tell me just a little bit about your process, both on the sports side. I know that's a unique case, and then on the field trips with teachers. And tell me a little bit. I'll start with you, Dawn. Just what is the process for?
So,
Go ahead.
nope. So it starts with the teacher or the organizer of the trip. They'll go ahead and actually put into Tripfinder. They have access to that. They will put in the trip into Tripfinder. Then it'll go to the supervisor, to the principal. There might be another layer in between for the high schools, and then it comes to us to approve. We did incorporate the form that they use for trips. We did incorporate that into Tripfinder, so we do have that digitalized, which makes it much easier for everyone all around. And we even did QR codes so that they can do evaluations afterwards. We did a lot with it. It was fun to create that.
I love that. Actually, my boss, Tony Civitella, CEO, loves QR codes. Right, Zach? Loves QR codes. Okay, that's great. James, what's it like on your end? And then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty about how much time you need to, how much time you need before you give approvals and that kind of thing.
Ours is very similar. Usually it's a teacher or a coach who will put in the trip. And then depending on if it's a sport, it's a sporting event, like, high school football game, it'll go directly from the coach to that school's athletic director to our athletic director for the entire district, and then to us. If it's a regular field trip, it'll go from usually the teacher to a secretary or a principal, whoever that school designates as who they want to be their first step of approval, and then it goes to a third person, and finally to us. So it's very similar of who it goes to, but we set it up so it goes to the right people based on the type of trip you're selecting. So it really makes it to where teachers and principals aren't getting emails about football games and they really don't want anything to do with. So it's very customizable to make it work to your district.
And you've had good compliance, you mentioned yesterday during our dry run, James, right? On the sports side of things?
Yeah, the sporting events, what we've done is we want them as soon as they get their schedule for the season, they get schedule every away game for the entire season. So it's already in there. It really helps our field trip coordinator, Bonnie, really to make sure for schedule manager all the trips are scheduled. She can get them lined up, ready to go. So there's not this going, oh, I forgot to book an away game. Now, we understand during playoffs time, that's a totally different subject. But like we talked in the earlier segment, it's mobile ready. So if a coach is at a football game and surprisingly they won the game they weren't expecting to, that coach can write that in there on the bus ride back. They can schedule the trip while they're on their bus on their phone. So it makes it really handy.
Great. How about you, Don? Any issues how do they differ on the sports side of things from the teacher side of things?
The sports, because there's so many schools that we have for middle school and for high school. There's usually two secretaries that book all those trips. And the hardest thing is tournaments, but that has nothing to do with the system. The system just makes it so much easier to manage.
By the way, just somebody made a question in here, wanting to know your thoughts on the whole bidding process. And since you both have Tripfinder too, can you give I'll go with you first, James. Just how do you handle and explain what bidding means for maybe those that may be new to this idea. And then how do you handle it?
Well, bidding is different for almost any district. For our trips, we just have a certain number of drivers who sign up. We have them sign up each week. Every week they sign up for trips, and based on, we do it more of a alphabetical order. If you're, we don't really go off seniority or things like that, or performance. As long as you're in good standing, we have enough trips to go around. We get some drivers that get trips every single day, all 5 days a week, and we get some drivers who only sign up for one or two trips a week. So we're blessed to have all the trips to where our drivers can write their own overtime checks whenever they want to, and things like that. So we really don't have a bidding process or a time. We just go in alphabetical order. So.
Good. Any thoughts from you, Don?
We do use seniority. So we go in seniority order. We again also have weekly meetings to pick those trips. And anything that we can't cover will go out via quote to the different contractors that we have.
How do you manage? Tripfinder plays a role in helping you manage driver availability.
So we'll print it week from week of the actual trips that we have, and they just go on security. As long as they can fit within their day, then they're eligible to take those trips. And if the trip is out of their daily work, then we also have subs that will go ahead and drop the trip off for that person while they're doing their dismissals. And then that person will go for the end of the trip to grab them back.
Ours is very similar. We have Route Finder, so we use Resource Scheduler in Route Finder. It really helps us with our Trip Finder availability. So as long as the drivers who signed up for the trip have availability, we can assign it no problem. If it's outside their realm, like the trip leaves before their afternoon run starts, we typically let them know, like, hey, we are not able to cover this trip. You'll need to have a coach or a teacher who has a CDL drive the bus there, and then our driver will come by and pick them up afterwards. So.
Okay, good. Got a couple of questions here on billing. Daniel asked, is there a way to, and this is probably for you, Zach, but maybe if Don or James or your field trip coordinator, James, if you want to yell, is that a woman or a man?
It's Bonnie. It's a woman, yeah.
Bonnie. If you want to yell to Bonnie to see if she knows. Is there currently or a plan to build a price sheet per school per destination? So this person mentioned, for school 1, it may only be $300 to get to the zoo. School 2, it may be more like $325.
Super granular question here, Rick. I was reading through Daniel's too, thinking that, yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of this does require a little bit of configuration. So, reading through Daniel's question, could we create a price sheet? And I see he does all this billing manually now and kind of brings it into Tripfinder. I think it's likely that we could support something like he's doing. It just may require us doing a little bit, setup and configuration. So I tagged Daniel's question for sure. That may be a good one to follow up with.
And then Michael, though, asks, can billing just be automatically calculated based on mileage and time, as well?
Michael's got great questions. I can't wait to follow up with Michael, right? He's asking them faster than I can answer. But yeah, he's got some great questions. Can we integrate with Samsara to grab the mileage? Can it be billing automatically pull from mileage captured, things like that? So we do tie in, we do integrate with Samsara, tying that into your field trip component as far as when's the mileage starting and ending for a field trip. Again, could require a little bit of configuration to determine what's being grabbed. Most of our clients, I think, today are self-reporting. They're filling out a form to say, this is when I started and ended the trip. But yeah, we definitely could grab that from a telematics system as well. And then can we tie in that mileage for billing? For sure. Really, really common way that we support that billing is by the mileage and cost per mile.
Actually, James, you highlighted that yesterday, didn't you?
I did. I can speak to that. I'm the one who actually does the invoices. Bonnie, our field trip coordinator, she has a form. She'll just print out the trip sheets, as we call them, directly from Tripfinder every day, and she hands it to the driver, and they report their mileage and their times and everything. And she comes back and she inputs it into the system directly into the trip, and then that automatically generates an invoice. and it's got everything in it, the number of buses, the number of drivers, number of miles, what we charge per mile, what we set the rate of what we charge per mile, we set the rate, what we charge, pay the driver per hour. And this way, for me, it's just a few clicks and it sends an email directly to that teacher. Or we don't charge for sporting events or activities like that, just a regular field trip that we'll charge invoices to. And it's just a couple of clicks away and it's there. Even within Viewfinder, the teachers they can look up their own invoices through and things like that through it, which makes it really awesome. Is makes it self-sufficient for everybody to where they don't have to rely on me to send them the invoice. They can look it up themselves.
That's great. I want to, so Zach, this is probably well, it could be for any of you as well. Does Tripfinder handle multiple destination field trips, such as like a meal stop?
We usually don't do the multiple. We don't list it. The only way we list it is in the notes. So we will print it for the drivers, but it's in the notes.
Okay.
Same for us, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about implementation. We talk about we'll get back into some of the nitty-gritty as well. But I did, one of the things that why we wanted to do this webinar was also for number one, for those that are maybe manuals or those who are using another routing system or whatever maybe, to know that this is a good way to get a little taste of the Transfinder way. I'm just going to be blunt about that, and that what kind of service and support we provide. But also the implementation of this is fairly, it's a light lift, isn't it? Can someone just talk to me, and Jack, of course, add in. But Dawn, tell me a little bit about the implementation process for you.
The implementation worked out very well. It was very easy. The team worked great with us as far as the information that I wanted to have pre-built into the system so that it was more of a turnkey for us. So they went ahead and incorporated all of our drivers, our vehicles. They even did destinations, whatever destinations I gave them with all the addresses, so that it really was easy to start with. We had almost all the information in there. And then just adding the ones that come up is, again, fairly easy. The system is very user-friendly to work with.
And what's nice is, and James, you've seen it as well, is it has the same look and feel of really all of our other solutions, so that there's just a familiarity. Zach, anything you want to add? I'm sorry, James, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you are 100% correct. All the finders, our Tripfinder, our Form Finder, our Viewfinder, our Service Finder, all the finders are very similar. And if you have one, it's really easy to transition into the other. I'm kind of spoiled. When I came in here 5.5 years ago, we already had pretty much all the finders. So when I learned how to use Route Finder first, transitioning over to Tripfinder, piece of cake, just because I've already learned how to use it in Route Finder. So one and all of them, they pretty much work almost identical, and they all work seamlessly together as well.
I got a shout out to you, or a question for you from Anonymous. James, asking, like, you said a couple clicks you can automatically generate an invoice. Is there training on that? Did you get training on that to know how to do that?
I did not. Transfinder has a community basically everything you need to know about any of the finders, as we call them, all of the finders. You can go on there and you can look. You can just type in a question, and it'll basically take you to a page that basically tells you step by step how to really to do anything, how to add a student, how to add a trip, how to bill your invoices, how to automate your things. Not only are you getting things like Tripfinder, but you also have Transfinder as a community as well that can really walk. I'm the kind of person, I'd rather look up instructions and just figure out how to do it, like Google it, but that's what Transfinder community is. Or you can call them. Their customer service support team is amazing. You can send them an email or you can call them, and they'll basically help you walk you through it. But there's always training options available.
Great. Dawn, anything you want to add on that?
No, I've used the chat. They have the chat help that is really good too as well. And if they
Yeah.
can't help you, they just tell you, go ahead and email, and you can email. I've emailed them Excel files and can you just throw this in the system? And they will. They're very helpful.
I'm the opposite. I'd much rather, can y'all show me how to do it so I can do it myself in the future? But I have had them just upload Excel files for me. So,
And a follow-up question from Joe was about staff, your individual staff training. How, you know, how did that go? And I don't know, just that's basically the question. How was the staff training?
I know for us, when we first incorporated Tripfinder, we, I don't want to say bought, but we did use the training that was provided, and it was great. They're all Zoom calls, and they go through everything. You have questions for the teachers. You can ask; they'll show you right away. They go over and above what they go over and above everything you need. So they're awesome.
One thing I like, go ahead, James.
sorry. I always interrupt you, Rick. I apologize.
No.
What I was going to say is, I remember my trainers in Michael and Shay, the two trainers that I dealt with mostly. Some were on webinars, or Zoom calls, whatever you want to call them, and they'll talk to you and they'll walk you through step by step. But we've also done on-site training. We do on-site training yearly. We have we have somebody come out. They usually spend 2 to 3 days with us. So it's very beneficial. Not every district does that. Some people just like to do the online training, but we do on-site training every year. We've always learned something new. And if there's something we've been lingering on all summer long, we write it down. So when they come out, they help iron it out perfectly, like you will not believe. So the training is one of the other aspects that I don't think gets talked about enough. That Transfinder's training is amazing.
One of the things I want to highlight, we talked about community, Transfinder community, and I think is amazing is that every training session is recorded so that you can always go back. And if you onboard somebody who's new and maybe they didn't sit through that, they can actually go into your own personal archives, which is germane to your district, not just seeing a generic, answers to questions, but something that's very specific. So I think that's an amazing tool as well.
Rick, there's
So
some great questions. I'm sure you've got your own agenda, but the chat has some great questions for Don and James too. Alfredo here asks, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome, and what were some of the growing pains? Alfredo's just starting with their transition for Tripfinder now, so we'd love to hear anything on that piece.
Challenges for Tripfinder. Really didn't have any. The biggest challenge, I guess, was figuring out how we want it to look so that we can work with the system, export the files so that we can have our PIC meetings. But once you figure out how you want your system, your dashboard to look, there really aren't that many challenges to it.
that's great. That's good to hear. And James, you said you already inherited it.
Like I said, I came straight in on it, so we were already using it for at least a year or two before I came on board. So I guess it's the only thing I know.
When would you say like the most effective way is that you found to just getting kind of into the nitty-gritty again about avoiding conflicts with regular routes, and also just dealing with last minute requests? You ever get any last minute requests, or does everybody always give you what they want in September and you're good?
Oh no, we get last minute requests all the time. We have a 10-day cutoff. You can't put a trip in that's scheduled to leave within less than 10 days. We actually went into Form Finder and created a form that they have to fill out, and then they have the same types of steps that you would do for a normal trip. But it actually is that Form Finder is actually every time one is filled out, it comes directly to Bonnie, our field trip coordinator, and then she just has to see if we have the availability. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to turn them down. It's not too often. We're transportation. We always get it done. But, it's very hectic and sometimes, but we do what we have to do. But unfortunately, we do turn them down.
Dawn,
And
you
we,
mentioned yesterday about blackouts too. That
Mhm.
so can you just go into some detail about that?
Sure. Um, we usually give the teachers and we request 8 weeks for our field trips. Obviously, can't do that with athletics, but for field trips, we do request 8 weeks. We do have some though that'll come in, especially in May when everyone's going to all the zoos and everything else, and October with all the farms. And we do use blackout dates. So once we see that we've got a limit of buses for that day, we will code them. We've been coding them as holiday. This way, when the teachers go to try and put a field trip in that day, it'll come up as a holiday. And then they'll call and be like, oh, I'm trying to use this date, but it's not going through. And we'll tell them, well, we're full that day. Pick another day and we'll be happy to assist.
Very good. So Nicole asked a question, and I just got to read it verbatim. I received trip requests in multiple forms, paper, several different Google Docs. It seems like this trip finder would make it easier to receive trip requests all in one place. So here's the question. How did your teachers and staff in your district respond to a change in submitting trip forms? And was it fairly easy adjustment for the coaches and teachers to pick up on the process?
For us, it was. We rolled it out as this is the new way we're going to do it. And I actually had the manual for them so they knew how to go through and put the trip in. I also set up the system so that every field that I need filled out is actually a required field. So they can't um, submit a trip without information I need, whether it's the date, the time, the destination, or whatever I feel is important that I need. And, besides getting people signed in as a user, it really was a smooth transition.
That's great. James, anything?
Being having for me having I have admin access, so I can any point in time I can add a teacher or a coach in there, so we can get them set up to do anything. So it's pretty simple.
I've
Mhm.
had several interviews with people who have used Tripfinder, and the two anecdotes that come to mind. One was how easy it was to approve requests or deny requests when necessary. And he would do it Sunday while watching football. But he goes, I would never let my teachers know how easy. He didn't have the 8 week buffer time. He had 2 weeks. But he goes, I'm not getting rid of my 2 week buffer time. I'm still want it. And then the other was another person who mentioned that he did not have great compliance with his coaches. And so what he did initially was go in and do almost all the sporting events for the coaches that they would have to fill in specific things, but he tried to make it as light of a touch as possible for them. And then eventually they all kind of came around in year two and that kind of stuff. But so little heavy involvement in the beginning, but do you guys have any tricks, things that you learned? And I'm going to add this to the amazing attendees who have been so engaged. This might have been really one of the most engaged best practices I've ever had. If you have any tricks that you have in how you handle field trips, I'll throw them out to the group at large. But Don, James, anything that you talked about the blackout, some other uh, tricks, anything else?
Dashboards is huge for us. You, at any point in time, you can just like it's got drop down, select today, select this week, select next quarter. So you can help plan like Don was talking about, they have their picked meetings and everything. For us, I look at it daily just to see what's going out because I help out with scheduling and make sure all of our buses get out on time. That's another one of my hats that I wear. So this way I know that what field trips are coming up today or tomorrow, especially over the weekends when there's nobody here. Friday night, we got to make sure all of our keys and clipboards are ready to go. So just having your dashboards up in front of you available at any point in time, just to get that quick snapshot without having to go into pull up all the trips, filter out different things. Dashboards does it all for you.
That's great. That's another thing that Tony loves in the office here. Dashboards, dashboards, dashboards. Just loves dashboards. Don, anything you want to add to that?
No, we use the dashboard and really no other tricks though.
Okay. Are the drivers able to put destinations for their trip into a tablet to get to and from their locations?
I know we talked about this earlier. Right now, there's no quick search. Some
Yes.
districts do put field trips in for in-district field trips, but it really is the district map functionality that limits me from going out of state or out of county, things like that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I do remember. And then do the drivers see the approved, do they get how do they get notified that they've been approved for the trip?
We usually, well, they'll see it on when we have our PIC meeting. We're able to give them access, but we don't. So, or else they would be able to see it through the system.
Okay.
Yeah,
James?
we just print it out. We just go through and we print out the trips for that week and we just post them on the bulletin board. And then I also take that same directly from Tripfinder and I email it out to all the drivers for the week. So they get it in email form and it's also posted on the board. And then every day when they come in, we put the trip sheet that I talked about earlier. We put it on a clipboard and we throw it into the box. So when they come inside to get their Wayfinder tablet, they'll have a clipboard in their box, so they know they've got a trip that day.
Zach, Catherine asked a question about that she receives all of the athletic trips for the week on a spreadsheet, and then she has to enter them all in manually. Can trips be uploaded directly from an Excel spreadsheet into Tripfinder?
It definitely can. We had another good question about this from somebody looking to move from another field trip platform. Can they bring this data in? So for sure, we actually do allow you to take just a simple Excel spreadsheet and run an import. So that'd make that process a lot easier. We can even set it up so that we can create an import template. So each time you do it, you just grab the Excel file, you go through our import data process, and you can import it. So for that client, sounds like they're a Tripfinder user already. Definitely touch base with our support, and they should be able to walk you through that import.
Um, and do you have any strategies, I guess, for reducing costs without compromising the safety or quality? So as you're managing these things, does this give you kind of insights? James, I'm going to go to you first, to help reduce the cost of field trips.
A little. For us, it's more. It helps reduce the cost. Overall scheduling, just the time it takes to schedule all these things and get people out. The ease and functionality of it, it just makes our lives so much simple and it's less time we have to spend on it, especially as far as a billing aspect. A schedule, a resource schedule that I talked about earlier that we use through Route Finder. We coordinate the two together. So overall, the biggest thing it saves us money is the time that we're spending on trying to get everything up and running.
Great. Um, okay, I think I just want to, we have a couple more slides I want to get through before we end, but I just want to have your final takeaway. So I always think about when, people go to a webinar and it's like, oh, I want to remember this one thing that I'm going to bring back to my office. I'm going to bring back to my field trip coordinator or my school board or whatever. What's one thing that you would want to make sure that somebody who attended this took with them? I'll start with you, Don, and with you, James.
Um, to actually like really look into it because it really does make a difference in a person's day as far as time. We went from Google Sheets into Tripfinder and it was just so much easier and everything's in one place and you don't have to go into different places to find all the trips and figure out who can do a trip and who can't. And it's very easy to use and it makes a big difference in your workplace.
Great. Zach, going on to Google, I mean, that idea, by the way, isn't there more security to being embedded in Tripfinder versus something like Google Docs?
Yeah, I mean, definitely across the board. We've got a hosted platform hosted by AWS, right? And we're taking into account FERPA and all the security levels that you would want versus, a spreadsheet sitting out on a server somewhere. Obviously, users have unique credentials to log in. I mentioned, SSO setup there. So a lot more security, a lot easier management for your IT that may have to manage versions or things like that that could get really complicated too.
Right. James, you got a takeaway?
My big takeaway again is time, yes. But it just makes your job so much easier. And it's not just transportation, it's the schools, it's the accounting teams down at the district office. It really helps with everybody. It helps with the maintenance secretaries as far as keeping track of mileage for field trips. We're very big on KPIs, key performance indicators. So at any point in time, someone could ask me a question. I'm like, I don't know. I can go directly into Tripfinder or Route Finder and find those answers. My service department, they can go in there and find out mileage instantly. A teacher can go look up an invoice. It helps, makes everybody's job more efficient overall. So the time is great, the efficiency is great, and just making each individual person's job so much easier. And that's what I like about it more than anything.
Right. Zach, I got to give you a final takeaway as well. What's one takeaway?
Takeaways, how engaged our audience is. I've been furiously trying to answer questions. I know I didn't get to them all, so I got to make sure to let the
47 answered questions, plus the ones we answered live, and then 32 that are still open, but we will get to them all, right, Zach?
But that's my goal. So if your question didn't get answered to here, I'm gonna make sure to follow up, reach out, get you guys answered. But really, I think the whole point of this is it's a tool to make the processes better. And what I heard is Don and James have a lot of great processes. I gotta say, some of our attendees are saying, "Hey, I have Tripfinder. I'd love to see what you're using for your layouts or some of your trip tickets or things like that." So James, expect you to reach out and say, "Hey, maybe we can export a copy of something like that." No, it really is about collaborating here together. Questions like how do you guys handle bidding and things like that? Because there's a lot of complexity to this, and we just want to find ways that we can simplify it for our clients.
Actually, and that's exactly the reason why we created the best practices webinar series really was, whether you're a Transfinder client or not, what are you doing that works for you that somebody else can borrow in their day-to-day? So that's exactly the purpose. So this has been just such an exciting webinar. I've just really thoroughly enjoyed it. All right, if you go to the next slide real quick. I want to, everybody who is on this webinar, not just our panelists, definitely our panelists, but if you're in attendance, you deserve to get some recognition for your district. It shows that you already care. You didn't have to be on this webinar, and you're looking to see how you can improve every aspect of your transportation department. So I want to strongly encourage you to sign up for the Top Transportation Teams program. And basically what it'll do is it'll engage your entire team to take a survey and find out what areas are you really strong in, what areas could you improve on. It'll give you a roadmap. If you win, there's recognition at STN in Reno, and a great luncheon. We have a panel discussion. Hopefully, some of you have seen some of the panel discussions we've had, and just the insights that we've gotten. But again, it's all about collaborating, as Zach said. All about what are the best practices, what are people doing to improve culture, and that helps to lead to retention, which ultimately will help reduce the driver shortage, among other issues. So if you go to toptransportationteams.com or you do the QR code there, like I said, we love QR codes here. That'll get you there and just start the process. We opened it up months and months earlier than we have in the past because we want to get more and more districts involved. So that's that. If you go to the next slide, please, Arnold. Do you have a story? So we love collecting stories. Again, whether you're a Transfinder client or you're not, what do you do that makes your operation function? And how can we learn from that? So if you go to my story at transfinder.com, send us your story. And if it's a great one, I may follow up with you and ask you if you would be willing to be on a panel because we'd love to, again, share the good tips. And last but not least, if you could go to the last slide here, mark your calendars. We're going to close out the year December 4th, actually December 4th or December 11th, but because December 4th is not too far away, probably be December 11th, but mark your calendars because we will be closing out the year with a very special year-end best practices webinar. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you mark that down. I want to again thank our panelists for just all your insights. Thank you for the time you spent, even yesterday with our dry run. And I just really appreciate all your insights. And thank all the attendees for coming. Zach, thanks so much for your presentation. Arnold, for running the back end. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.